For as long as I can remember, my brother, Ryan, 22M, and I have been incredibly close. Sure, we fought when we were younger, as siblings do, but overall, I always felt like I could count on him for anything. Growing up, we had a bit of a rough time since our parents split when I was just a kid. But rather than drifting apart, Ryan and I grew closer. He was always looking out for me, making sure I was okay, and I did the same for him. It wasn't always easy. Ryan was the kind of guy who was always popular in school. He had this natural charisma that drew people in. It's not like I was jealous or anything, he was just a genuinely good person. Me? I've always been more introverted. I tend to fade into the background when Ryan enters a room. I'm fine with it, though. I've learned to be comfortable with myself, even if it means staying out of the spotlight. So, when Ryan started dating his girlfriend, Lisa, 20F, I didn't think much of it at first. I was happy for him. Lisa seemed nice enough when I first met her, even though she wasn't exactly my type of person. She was the life of the party, always laughing, talking, and making jokes. She was the kind of girl who would walk into a room and instantly draw everyone's attention, including Ryan's. At first, I thought it was just a phase. They'd been dating for about a month, and I assumed it would fizzle out like most of his other relationships. But no, Lisa stuck around. And as time passed, I started noticing things that bothered me more and more. For one, Lisa quickly started acting like she was a permanent fixture in our family. She was at every family gathering, sitting next to Ryan, laughing loudly at all the jokes, and just generally making herself feel very at home. Now, I didn't mind the fact that Ryan had a girlfriend. What bothered me was the way she'd insert herself into every little thing, as though it was her right to make decisions for our family. She would suggest things like, "We should totally have the Thanksgiving dinner at my place this year, you know, just so we can all hang out together," or, "We should go on a family vacation. It'll be so fun." And it wasn't even like she asked. She'd just say it as if it was already decided. I'm not the kind of person who would ever say anything to her face. I mean, I didn't want to cause drama. So, I kept my thoughts to myself and bit my tongue. But over time, it started feeling like I was being pushed aside in my own family, and that's when things started to get tense between me and Lisa. It wasn't long before I started hearing things from my friends at school. At first, it was just little things. A comment here and there. One of my classmates, Megan, 17F, came up to me one day and asked, "Hey, is it true that you're super mad at Lisa?" I had no idea what she was talking about. "What do you mean?" I asked. "You know, everyone's talking about how you're upset that Ryan is dating her, and they're saying you're jealous. Is that true?" I was completely caught off guard. I mean, sure, I didn't exactly love how close Lisa and Ryan were getting, but I'd never once thought about going behind her back or causing a fuss. I simply didn't agree with some of her behaviors, but that didn't mean I was jealous. Megan's words stuck with me, though. I brushed it off for a while, figuring it was just gossip. But as the days went by, I started hearing more rumors. Other classmates mentioned the same thing, how I was jealous of Lisa, how I couldn't handle the fact that Ryan was in a relationship. I even overheard a conversation between some of my classmates at lunch one day. They were talking about me and Lisa, and they said that I was secretly plotting to break them up. I was shocked. This wasn't even close to being true. I mean, I didn't know where this was coming from, but it was clear that someone was spreading these lies. I couldn't figure out why or who was doing it, but I had a sinking feeling in my stomach that Lisa had something to do with it. It made me feel terrible. I didn't want to be the subject of gossip, and I didn't want people at school to think that I was this petty, jealous person who couldn't accept my brother's relationship. I just didn't get it. Why was Lisa saying these things about me? I had never done anything to her, so why was she spreading rumors that weren't even true? The more I thought about it, the more I realized that I couldn't just let this go. I needed to confront Lisa. But it wasn't going to be easy. I decided that the best way to handle it was to talk to her directly. If I could just ask her about it, maybe I'd get some answers. So, I planned to confront her when I had the chance. That chance came a few days later. It was a Friday night, and Ryan had invited Lisa over for dinner with the family. It felt like a regular evening at first. We were all sitting around the table, talking and eating, and I kept thinking that I needed to bring this up, but I wasn't sure how. I didn't want to make a scene, but I also couldn't keep letting the rumors swirl around school. As we were finishing dinner, I finally found the courage to speak up. I looked at Lisa, who was sitting next to Ryan, and said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second? In private?" Lisa looked at me, surprised. Sure," she said, looking at Ryan as if asking for permission. Ryan just gave a little nod, and we both stood up from the table and walked into the living room. Once we were alone, I didn't waste any time. "Listen, Lisa," I began, "I don't know why you've been spreading rumors about me at school, but it needs to stop." She blinked, her face unreadable. "What are you talking about?" "I've been hearing from multiple people that you've been telling them that I'm jealous of you and Ryan," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "That I can't accept you two being together and that I'm trying to break you up." Lisa's eyes widened for a second, and then she quickly recovered. "Oh, come on, that's not what I said," she replied, crossing her arms. "I don't know where you're getting this from." But I wasn't backing down. "I'm getting it from people who've heard you say it, Lisa. And I'm done pretending like this isn't a problem." Lisa gave a small laugh, clearly uncomfortable. "Look, I don't know why people are making things up, but I've never said that. You're just overthinking it, Ella. Maybe they're just messing with you." I was taken aback. "You expect me to believe that? This isn't some misunderstanding, Lisa. People don't just randomly make up stories about me." She seemed to lose some of her confidence at that point. "I'm not spreading anything, okay? I think you're just being too sensitive." I could feel my blood start to boil. So now I'm the one being sensitive? I'm not making this up. And I'm definitely not jealous of you. But I'm tired of hearing these things about me. Lisa stayed quiet for a moment, and then she finally spoke. "I don't know what you want from me, Ella. If you think I'm lying, then fine. Believe what you want. But don't expect me to change anything. Ryan and I are together, and that's not going to change." I was seething at this point. "I just wanted an apology, Lisa. But I guess that's too much to ask." She didn't respond, just stood up and walked back to the dinner table. I stood there for a moment, fuming, before following her. I followed Lisa back to the table, feeling the heat of the conversation still pulsing through my veins. I could sense that Ryan was picking up on the tension, though he didn't say anything at first. I sat back down, trying my best to calm myself down, but I could tell that the mood had shifted in the room. My mom, who had been quietly observing, gave me a look, one of those "you okay?" glances. I simply nodded, but I wasn't okay. Not at all. Dinner continued in a much more awkward silence than before. Every time I looked at Lisa, I felt my blood pressure rise. Ryan was none the wiser, casually chatting with her as if nothing had happened. I wanted to speak up again, to tell him what had been going on, but I wasn't sure how. It wasn't my place to speak about her behind her back. I had already tried confronting her directly, but she wasn't owning up to anything. So, I just sat there, forcing myself to eat and smile as if everything was fine. After dinner, Lisa and Ryan made plans to go out with some friends, and I knew that my opportunity to tell Ryan was slipping away. He was still completely oblivious to everything that had been going on at school. But I couldn't leave things like this. It was eating at me. As they were heading out the door, I called out to Ryan. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" He looked over his shoulder, noticing the serious expression on my face. "Yeah, sure, what's up?" He walked back to where I was standing by the stairs. I took a deep breath before speaking. "It's about Lisa." I paused, trying to gather my thoughts. I don't know how to say this, but I found out that she's been telling people at school that I'm jealous of her and you. That I'm upset about your relationship. Ryan's expression softened immediately, but there was a hint of disbelief in his eyes. "Wait, she's been telling people that? Why would she say something like that?" "I don't know," I said, shaking my head. "I've heard it from a few people now, and it's really starting to get to me. She's making it sound like I'm some kind of petty person who can accept you two being together." Ryan looked conflicted. "I don't know. I find it hard to believe she'd say that. She's always seemed so nice. Maybe there's some misunderstanding." I felt frustration creeping up again. "Ryan, this isn't a misunderstanding. It's happening. People are talking about me like I'm this jealous, bitter person. I don't know why she's doing this, but it needs to stop." Ryan rubbed the back of his neck, still processing what I was saying. "I'll talk to her, okay? If it's true, we'll figure it out. I'll clear it up with her." I nodded, though I could tell he wasn't fully convinced. "Please do. I don't want to feel like I'm the bad guy here." Ryan gave me a reassuring smile, but I could tell he was already thinking about how to approach Lisa. "Don't worry, Ella. I've got this. Thanks for telling me." As he left, I couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and frustration. At least I had gotten the truth off my chest, but I wasn't sure if anything would really change. Ryan had a tendency to believe the best in people, and Lisa was so good at putting on a perfect facade. I worried that he'd never see her for what she truly was, not until it was too late. The following days at school were unbearable. The whispers were getting louder, and it felt like I couldn't escape the rumors. Megan, who had been one of the first to bring it up to me, came up to me at lunch again. "Hey, I'm sorry, but I heard that you and Lisa had a little chat after dinner the other night. Everything okay now?" I nodded, though I felt like everything was far from okay. "Yeah, we talked. But she's still acting like she didn't say anything, like it's all just a misunderstanding." Megan looked skeptical. "Well, you know how it goes. People just love drama. I'm sure Lisa didn't mean for it to get blown out of proportion." "I don't think she did," I muttered. "But it's still not right." "Well, just try not to let it get to you," Megan said, offering a small smile. "I'm sure things will die down soon." But I wasn't so sure. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that Lisa wasn't just making up stories. She was intentionally manipulating the situation. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she was doing it with Ryan completely unaware. I wasn't sure what kind of game she was playing, but I knew that I needed to be careful moving forward. The next time I saw Ryan, a few days later, I noticed that he was acting a bit off. He wasn't his usual self, he was distant, distracted. When I asked him what was wrong, he told me that he'd spoken to Lisa about what I'd said. "Yeah, I talked to her. She said she didn't mean for it to get so out of hand, but she promised it wouldn't happen again," Ryan told me, his voice flat. I raised an eyebrow. "She promised?" He nodded. "Yeah. She seemed sorry, but I don't know. I just want everything to go back to normal." I wasn't sure if I should believe him. It sounded like Lisa was playing her cards perfectly. She was making it look like she was apologizing without actually admitting to anything. I felt like I had no real power here. Ryan had already made up his mind, and I didn't know how much more I could push. But I wasn't about to let it slide completely. I couldn't just pretend like nothing happened. The next few days passed in a haze of awkwardness. Every time I saw Ryan and Lisa together, it felt like something was off, but I couldn't pinpoint what it was. I wanted to trust that everything would be okay, that Ryan would eventually see through Lisa's act, but deep down I knew that it was going to take more than a conversation to fix the damage that had already been done. One afternoon, while walking between classes, I ran into Megan again. She gave me a look that said she had something important to tell me. "Hey, Ella. I think you need to know something," she said in a low voice, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. "I overheard something today in the hall. Lisa was talking to a few of the girls in our grade, and she was pretty much saying that you were the one who was stirring up drama. She made it sound like you were the one trying to break up her and Ryan's relationship." I froze, my stomach sinking. "What? Are you serious?" Megan nodded. "I know. It's messed up. She's making you look like the bad guy, saying that you're just jealous of their relationship and that you're trying to ruin it because you can't handle seeing them together." I felt like the world was collapsing around me. I had just gotten done talking to Ryan, telling him the truth, hoping that things would clear up. But here Lisa was, continuing to lie about me. She was turning everyone against me without anyone even realizing it. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this up," I muttered, my voice shaky. "I've already tried confronting her. I've told Ryan what's going on, but it's like no one believes me." Megan looked sympathetic. "I know, Ella. But I can't believe she's doing this. It's like she's trying to paint you as the villain." "Well, I guess I'll just have to make sure I'm not the only one who knows the truth," I said, trying to sound confident, though I wasn't sure what I was going to do about it. After that conversation, things seemed to escalate even more. I started noticing little things that tipped me off that Lisa was still spreading lies. Some of our mutual friends started acting strange around me, almost like they were tiptoeing around a subject they didn't want to bring up. At first, I couldn't figure out why, but then it hit me. They had heard Lisa's version of the story, the one where I was the one trying to sabotage her relationship with Ryan. It wasn't just affecting me at school anymore, it was affecting how people saw me in general. It felt like every time I turned around, someone else was whispering about me behind my back. It felt suffocating. One day, after class, I found myself sitting in the cafeteria, staring down at my lunch. I could feel the eyes of the people around me, and it was making me feel claustrophobic. As if on cue, Ryan sat down next to me. He had a strange look in his eyes, one that I couldn't quite read. "Hey," he said, his voice quiet. "Can we talk for a second?" I nodded, trying to keep my composure. Sure, what's up? Ryan leaned in a bit closer, looking serious. I've been hearing some stuff. Some people are saying that you're not being entirely truthful with me about what happened with Lisa. That you've been spreading rumors too. I felt my heart drop to my stomach. What? Who's saying that? Ryan didn't seem entirely convinced, but he was clearly disturbed. I don't know, but people are talking, Ella. And I'm starting to wonder if you might be leaving some things out. I stared at him in disbelief. Are you serious, Ryan? After everything I've told you, now you're questioning me? He looked torn. I just don't know what to believe anymore. I want to trust you, but there's too much noise. Too many people are telling me different things. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt like everything I had tried to do, every attempt to get him to understand the truth, was falling apart. Lisa had turned this situation around on me, and now Ryan was doubting me. It was like I was fighting a battle that I was never going to win. Ryan, I swear to you, I'm not the one causing drama here. Lisa has been spreading lies about me, and she's making it look like I'm the one who can't handle her being with you. I'm not jealous. I'm just trying to get the truth out before it ruins everything. Ryan was silent for a long time, his eyes searching mine as if he was looking for something, some sign that I was lying. Finally, he spoke again, but his voice was softer now. I don't know what to think. I don't want to lose you as a friend, Ella, but I can't keep going back and forth on this. I need some time to figure it out. I nodded, though I was crushed. I understand, I whispered. Ryan stood up, looking conflicted, and then walked away, leaving me alone at the table. At that moment, I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. The one person I had hoped would stand by me, who I thought would believe me, was now questioning everything. And Lisa? She was still out there, spreading more lies, making sure the distance between me and Ryan grew even wider. I sat there for what felt like hours, trying to process everything. My phone buzzed a few times, but I didn't bother checking it. What was the point? I had no idea how to fix this, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to. The truth was, Lisa was winning. She had successfully manipulated the situation to make me look like the bad guy, and Ryan was too caught up in her charm to see it. I didn't know where things would go from here, but I did know one thing: this wasn't over. The next few days were a blur. I went to school, did my best to avoid confrontation, and kept my distance from Lisa and Ryan. I wasn't sure what to do next. The whole situation felt like a sinking ship, and I was standing on the deck, helplessly watching it go down. Megan, who had been my constant support through all of this, was growing frustrated, too. Ella, you have to talk to him. This can't keep going on. Ryan needs to hear the full story from you, not just Lisa, she told me one afternoon as we sat together in the library. I nodded, but a part of me was afraid. What if talking to him made things worse? What if he really believed Lisa's lies? The thought made my stomach turn. But Megan was insistent. If you don't do something soon, you might lose him as a friend for good. You've got to show him that what she's saying is all made up. You can't just sit back and let her win. I didn't want to admit it, but Megan was right. I couldn't let this slide. I needed to clear my name, even if it meant confronting Ryan again. But how could I do that when he was so torn? The next day, I texted Ryan, asking if we could meet up after school. He replied almost immediately, agreeing without much hesitation. I was relieved but also nervous. What would I say to him? Would he listen? After school, I met Ryan by the park near our school. The place was quiet, with only a few people scattered around, enjoying the late afternoon sun. Ryan was already there when I arrived, his hands shoved in his pockets, his posture tense. "Hey," I greeted him, offering a small smile that I didn't fully feel. "Hey," he replied, his voice neutral. "So, what's this all about?" I hesitated before speaking. "I just need you to hear me out. Please. I've been trying to tell you the truth, but it feels like no one believes me anymore." Ryan sighed and sat down on a nearby bench. "Ella, I don't know what to think. There's a lot of stuff being said, and it's hard to know what's real." "I know, but I swear to you, I'm not trying to make drama. I'm not jealous of Lisa. I've never been. I'm just telling you what's been going on. She's spreading lies about me, making it seem like I'm trying to break you two up," I said, my voice shaking. "I don't know what else to say to make you believe me." Ryan looked at me, his face conflicted. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly struggling with the situation. "I don't know, Ella. Lisa's really convincing, and she's my girlfriend. I don't want to doubt her, but you're my friend, too. It's also messy. I could feel my heart sinking again. I get it, Ryan. I do. But I'm telling you the truth. I wouldn't make something like this up. I've been nothing but honest with you. He was quiet for a long moment, his gaze fixed on the ground. I wish I could just trust you, but there's all this other stuff going around. I can't just ignore that, Ella. The words stung, more than I expected. It felt like he was pushing me away, like I wasn't important enough for him to take my side. Fine, I said, standing up. I guess I can't make you believe me if you won't. I've told you what's going on, and I can't do more than that. Ryan stood up, too, and looked at me with a mix of regret and uncertainty. I don't want this to ruin our friendship, Ella. I really don't. But right now, I don't know what else to do. I didn't have an answer for him. I guess you'll figure it out. I've done my part. I turned and walked away, my heart heavy with frustration. I couldn't force Ryan to see the truth, but the longer he stayed with Lisa, the harder it would be for him to see through her lies. It was like I was losing him, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. As I walked home, I tried to distract myself by focusing on other things, schoolwork, my hobbies, anything to keep my mind off the situation. But every time I thought about Ryan and Lisa, the pit in my stomach grew deeper. I knew that the longer this went on, the more it would hurt. The next few days at school felt like a repeat of everything that had already happened. Lisa continued to act like nothing was wrong, smiling and laughing with Ryan, while I sat on the sidelines, watching it all unfold. It was like I was invisible. One afternoon, I ran into one of my old friends, Sarah, in the hall. She was part of the group of girls who had been hanging out with Lisa recently, and she had always been kind to me. When she saw me, her face fell slightly, and she walked over to me. "Hey, Ella. Can we talk for a second?" she asked, her voice hesitant. I nodded, not sure where this was going. "I just wanted to let you know that I've been hearing what Lisa's been saying about you," Sarah began. "I know it's not true, Ella. I can see right through her, and I just wanted to tell you that I don't believe her." I stared at Sarah in disbelief. "Wait, what?" Sarah looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Lisa's been telling everyone that you're the one who started all of this drama, but I know it's not true. I heard her say some stuff that doesn't add up, and I can tell she's just trying to cover her own tracks." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. For the first time in what felt like forever, someone believed me. "Thank you, Sarah. That means a lot. I've been trying to get people to understand, but it's been so hard." She smiled sympathetically. "I know. I just wanted you to know that I'm on your side. I won't let her get away with this." As Sarah walked away, I felt a small glimmer of hope. Maybe there were still people who saw the truth. Maybe this wasn't all lost. But even with Sarah's support, I knew that the battle wasn't over. Lisa was still working to tear everything apart, and Ryan was still caught in the middle. All I could do was wait and hope that eventually, everything would fall into place. The next few days felt like a blur. Between navigating my interactions with Ryan and keeping my distance from Lisa, it was hard to focus on anything else. I couldn't shake the feeling that the situation was spiraling further out of control. As much as I tried to stay busy with schoolwork and hanging out with my few remaining friends, every thought kept circling back to the mess I was in. It was like I was stuck in a never-ending loop of confusion, frustration, and hurt. Megan had been a rock for me through all of this. She would check in every day, making sure I was okay and offering me words of encouragement. "You know the truth, Ella," she'd remind me whenever I felt down. "That's all that matters in the end." But even her comforting words didn't completely ease the tension I was feeling. I wanted so badly for Ryan to see through Lisa's manipulation, to realize that I wasn't the bad guy in all of this. The silence between us felt like a growing divide, and I could tell that Ryan was becoming more distant. One day, I walked into the cafeteria and noticed something that made my stomach turn. Ryan and Lisa were sitting together, laughing and whispering to each other like everything was normal. It stung to see them so close, knowing that Lisa was continuing to paint me as the villain. I tried not to let it bother me. After all, I wasn't the one in the wrong, but the feeling of being betrayed by both of them was hard to ignore. I grabbed my lunch and sat with Megan, trying to keep my focus on anything other than what was happening at the other table. "So, have you talked to Ryan lately?" Megan asked, her voice low. I sighed and glanced over at Ryan and Lisa. "Not really. He's been avoiding me more, and every time I try to talk to him, he just gets defensive. I think he believes Lisa." Megan shook her head. "I'm sorry, Ella. This whole thing is so unfair. But you know you've done everything you can, right?" "I don't know. "It feels like nothing I do will change his mind," I replied, feeling a lump form in my throat. "And the worst part is, he hasn't even given me the chance to explain everything. It's like he's chosen to trust Lisa instead of me." As I sat there, staring at my food, I felt like I was losing the one friend who truly understood me. But I wasn't going to give up yet. I couldn't. The next few days were filled with tension. I would see Ryan and Lisa together, laughing, holding hands, acting like nothing had changed. And every time, I would feel that sharp pang in my chest, wondering if there was anything I could do to make Ryan see the truth. But I knew that every time I approached him, it only seemed to push him further away. One afternoon, after school, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I didn't want to just sit back and let Lisa continue to spread lies about me. I had to confront this head-on. I wasn't going to let her ruin my reputation without doing something about it. I found Ryan sitting alone in the library, his face buried in a book. I hesitated for a moment before walking up to him. He didn't look up at first, but when I cleared my throat, he looked up, his eyes meeting mine. "Ryan, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm but not hostile. He sighed, clearly already tired of this conversation. "Ella, I don't think there's anything else to say. I've already heard what you have to say." I shook my head. "No, you haven't. You've heard Lisa's version of things. You've heard her lies, but you haven't heard the full story." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "Ella, I've already told you I'm not sure who to believe. I'm trying to keep the peace, but you need to understand that I can't just drop everything because you say something's not true." I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. "I get it. You're confused, and I'm not trying to make things harder. But I've been nothing but honest with you, and I've done everything I can to show you that I'm not the one who's causing drama. Lisa's been manipulating the situation, making it seem like I'm jealous, but it's not true. I've never wanted to come between you two. I just want to be treated fairly." Ryan was quiet for a long moment. I could see the conflict in his eyes, and it made my heart ache. "I don't want to believe that Lisa would lie to me," he said quietly, almost to himself. "I know it's hard," I said softly. "But please, just think about it. You know me. You've known me for years. Do you really think I would do something like this? Do you think I would try to break you two up just because of some stupid jealousy?" Ryan didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked down at his hands, fiddling with the edges of his book. "I just don't know, Ella. I really don't." The silence hung between us, heavy and suffocating. I felt my frustration growing, but I didn't want to push too hard. "I just want you to know the truth, Ryan. You don't have to choose sides. I just want you to understand that I'm not the villain in this story." Ryan finally looked up at me, his expression softer now, though still conflicted. "I'll think about it, Ella. I need time." I nodded, not knowing what else to say. "That's all I'm asking for." I walked away, my mind still racing. As much as I wanted everything to go back to normal, I knew that it wasn't going to happen overnight. The road ahead was going to be long, and I wasn't sure if Ryan would ever come around. But I wasn't going to give up. I couldn't. The next few days passed slowly, and I could feel the tension between me, Ryan, and Lisa growing with each passing moment. Lisa continued to spread her lies, and Ryan seemed to get more distant. I tried not to take it personally, but it was hard not to. The days felt like they were dragging on. Each time I saw Ryan and Lisa together, I couldn't help but feel a pang of disappointment. I had done everything I could to explain myself, but it still seemed like my words weren't reaching him. The distance between us was growing, and I was beginning to feel like I was losing him for good. Megan, of course, continued to support me. She would listen patiently to my rants and frustrations, offering comfort where she could. But even she had to admit that things weren't looking good. "I'm really sorry, Ella," she said one day after school as we walked out together. "I know how much you care about Ryan. It's just, I don't know how to fix this for you." I sighed, kicking a rock along the sidewalk as we walked. "It's not your fault. It's just hard, you know? I've tried everything, and it's like he's just blind to everything that's happening. I feel like I'm losing him, and I don't know what to do." Megan gave me a sympathetic look. "I know. But you can't force him to see the truth if he's not ready to hear it. You just have to keep being honest, and eventually, he'll come around. He's a good guy, Ella. He'll see it for what it is eventually." I appreciated her optimism, but deep down, I wasn't so sure. The longer I went without a real conversation with Ryan, the more it felt like our connection was slipping away. I couldn't tell if I was still fighting for something that was worth saving or if I was just holding on to something that was already gone. But things were about to take another turn, and it wasn't one I expected. It all started when I found out that Ryan had been talking to Lisa behind my back. I hadn't seen it coming, and when I first heard the news, it took me by surprise. It was Megan who told me. Of course, she had overheard it in the hallway at school. "I overheard Lisa talking to one of her friends today," Megan said, her voice full of concern. "She was saying that Ryan's still upset about the whole thing with you, and he's been asking her for advice about what to do. But the kicker? She said he doesn't know if he can trust you anymore." My stomach dropped at the news. "What do you mean? He told her that?" Megan nodded. "I overheard her telling her friend that Ryan's been questioning everything. That he's starting to think that maybe you did something to deserve all the drama. She's really good at making him doubt everything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything that had happened, after all the times I had tried to explain myself to him, Ryan was now questioning whether I was at fault in all of this? It didn't make sense. He knew me better than that. Or at least, I thought he did. "Well, I'm not just going to let this slide," I said, my voice firm. "I'm going to talk to him again. He needs to hear the truth, once and for all." Megan looked a little hesitant. "Ella, I know you're upset, but don't you think you've tried enough? If Ryan's still listening to Lisa, maybe it's time to walk away from all of this." I shook my head, refusing to give up. "No. I'm not walking away. Not until I've done everything I can. I can't just let Lisa control the narrative. I'll talk to Ryan again, and this time, I'm going to make sure he understands everything." The next day, I found myself searching for Ryan again. It was hard to find the right moment, but after school, I saw him walking out of the building with Lisa, chatting and laughing like nothing had happened. I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me, but I tried to keep my cool. I wasn't going to let Lisa make me lose control. I approached them, my heart pounding in my chest. Lisa glanced over at me, a smirk creeping across her face. Well, she said, crossing her arms. The drama queen herself. "What do you want, Ella?" Ignoring her, I turned to Ryan. "Can we talk? Just you and me, for a minute?" Ryan looked uncomfortable, glancing at Lisa before nodding. "Sure, but make it quick. Lisa and I are going to grab something to eat." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. This was my chance. I wasn't going to waste it. "Ryan, I know you've been talking to Lisa," I started, trying to keep my voice steady. "And I know that she's been telling you things that aren't true. But I need you to understand something. I've never been jealous of her. I've never wanted to come between you two. All I want is for you to see the truth. She's manipulating you, Ryan. I'm not the one causing drama here. She is." Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. "Ella, I just don't know what to believe anymore. Lisa's been telling me things that make sense, things I've seen with my own eyes. And you're just always defensive. You won't admit that maybe you've done something wrong." I felt my heart sink. "I haven't done anything wrong, Ryan. I've been nothing but honest with you, and I've been trying to tell you the truth this whole time. But you're letting Lisa control everything. You're letting her tell you what to think." Ryan looked conflicted, but he still didn't seem ready to believe me. "I don't know what to do, Ella. I don't want to lose you, but I don't want to lose Lisa either." I felt my frustration building, but I knew I couldn't push him too hard. "You don't have to choose between us, Ryan. But you have to see what's really happening. I'm not the one who's causing all of this. Please just think about it." There was a long pause as Ryan stared at me, and for a moment, I thought maybe he was finally going to say something that would change everything. But instead, he sighed again, looking defeated. "I don't know, Ella. I need time." Time. It felt like that's all I ever heard from him. Time to think. Time to process. Time to figure it out. But with every passing day, I was starting to wonder if time would ever be enough. As I stood there, watching Ryan walk away with Lisa, I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. I had laid everything out on the table, but it still didn't seem like he was ready to listen. Maybe he needed more time, maybe he needed something else, but it wasn't enough for me. I didn't know how much longer I could keep fighting for someone who wasn't seeing things the way I did. So, I turned and walked away, the weight of the situation hanging heavy on me. I didn't know what the future held for me and Ryan, but one thing was for sure, I wasn't going to let Lisa continue controlling the narrative. If Ryan wasn't going to fight for us, maybe it was time I stopped fighting for him. What do you think, Reddit? Am I the a-hole for confronting my boyfriend about the rumors and trying to prove my innocence, or am I just making things worse? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I'll be back with more soon.